Mick Schumacher has lost his F1 seat for 2023. Haas have dropped him for Nico Hülkenberg. A harsh decision perhaps, but one I do ultimately understand from the team's point of view. In Mick's statement, he made it very clear that he learned a lot and now knows for sure that I deserve a place in Formula 1. The subject is anything but closed for me. My fire burns for Formula 1 and I will fight hard to return to the starting grid. He'll be aiming for 2024, but he won't be the only one. So today I wanted to run through the 12 drivers I think will be most likely to put up the biggest fight against Mick's return. There's only 20 seats in Formula 1, remember, and this list could easily have been 20 drivers long, but we don't have all day. So let's talk about it. Alex Palou. Sorry Colton, but I've gone with Alex Palou to kick things off. He has the super license points first and foremost, having won IndyCar in 2021 and he finished 5th this year. Had a really strong FP1 run out with McLaren in Austin. He's already again won the premier open wheel racing series in the USA and he's still only 25. I think it'd be amazing to see him get a shot. The question is which team? Because, I mean, if Piastri has an absolute stinker in his first year, I think what's actually more likely is that Norris gets nabbed away from McLaren at the end of next season if they don't show enough progress, in which case maybe Alex would get an opportunity. Because I for sure would welcome Palou to get a shot in F1. I think he's done more than enough to earn that opportunity. Daniel Ricciardo. Danny, look, I know it's been a bad end to his career, but I stand by the fact that form is temporary, class is permanent. In the right hardware, this guy won 8 Formula 1 Grand Prix. You don't do that off pure vibes, off pure luck. We know what you can do in that Red Bull. We know what you could do in that Renault. I think it would be very short-sighted for teams to completely disregard Daniel for a return in 2024. Maybe the time wasn't right now, but I think the end of next year, maybe. Now, seemingly he's gunning to replace Lewis. That's the big rumour at the moment, although maybe it would also be a reserve role at Red Bull, which considering he left Red Bull in the first place would be pretty mad. Obviously, Verstappen and Checo's relationship seems to be a bit stretched at the minute. Who knows how that's going to turn out by the end of next season. Alpine as well, you've got Ocon and Gasly together. We know there's been fireworks between them two in the past, but then Alpine didn't pick Daniel now, so why would they pick him in a year's time? I don't know. I still struggle to see where exactly Daniel fits in, but it's called silly season for a reason, right? Who saw Alonso going to Aston Martin? Who saw Piastri going to McLaren and defecting from Alpine? Anything can happen in this sport. Felipe Drugovich, Formula 2 champion for 2022. Yes, at the third time of asking, granted, but Felipe's still young. I'm super happy that he got the opportunity he did at Aston Martin as a bare minimum. He's going to have a ton of experience under his belt doing loads of FP1 sessions, work with a sim, just working with the team on the back end. As for a seat, look, obviously Alonso, Lance and big man Lawrence, that 3, you can be forgiven for thinking that might be a bit explosive. Sounds pretty volatile to me, but also Aston Martin will have plenty of data on Felipe by the end of next season to make some kind of judgment, whether it's loaning him out, whether it's bringing him in. I mean, look, Alonso signed a 2-year deal. Maybe he'll stay for another 10 years. Who knows at this rate? Felipe might have to bide his time, but an F2 champion should always be in the conversation. Teo Saari. Teo really should have scored more points this season. He's been mad unlucky with unreliability and, granted, overdriving a bit. Again, I think back to Zandvoort, just pushing too hard to try and make up positions. But there's no question the 19-year-old has obvious talent, and with another F2 season, which I'm assuming he will have under his belt to shave down that rough diamond that he is, I'm sure he'll be in a very good place. But to be fair, it will be his 3rd season in F2, so he really does have to win it next year. He is a Sauber junior, so you think Sauber seat, maybe if Zhou Guanyu doesn't continue to move in a positive trajectory, then maybe Teo could be considered. And remember as well, by 2024, they won't be running the Alfa Romeo branding anymore, so they will be fully Sauber before Audi come in for 2026. Jack Doohan. The young Aussie, son of legendary motorbike racer Mick Doohan, has had a really solid debut rookie Formula 2 season. He's personally benefited massively from Oscar leaving as well, because he's been able to step into those FP1 sessions and get more time in the garage that Oscar would have previously had. Piastri will be released soon, but I'm pretty sure he's still locked up in the Enstone simulator 24/7 just doing laps of Abu Dhabi. Now remember that Alpine had brokered a deal for Piastri to go to Williams, so depending on how next season goes, both for Jack in terms of his performances, but also the rest of the F1 grid, and if anyone has a bad season, Alpine have clearly demonstrated they are prepared to loan that driver out. Ocon Gasly, I feel like, will work. I'm confident that will work and that will be sustainable for a while, so maybe that's not the future. All I do know is that Alpine will make sure that his contract is airtight. It's fine making mistakes as long as you learn from them. Liam Lawson. Being given a bunch of F1 mileage has Liam. Sure, he hasn't set the F2 championship alight, but given how impressive his debut DTM season was, I think he's got a good stock price behind him. I would not be surprised if Yuki isn't to make positive progression next year and get, destroyed by De Vries, for example, that Liam wouldn't, based off right now, be number one potential replacement. Although not enough to give him that opportunity for next season, instead bringing in Nick De Vries, which maybe that tells you something. Maybe they're not completely convinced, but they are giving Liam the FP1 sessions, which will only help them gather more data and get more of an understanding of whether he can be a driver that can jump in and be good. Enzo Fittipaldi. Enzo has had a bit of a breakout year in 2022. He's currently sitting 6th in the F2 standings. He's only 9 points behind Logan Sargent in P3. So much so, in fact, that Red Bull snapped him up literally like last week before last, whenever it was, as the latest driver in their Young Driver Academy. Now, just like Mick, having a famous racing surname like Fittipaldi is always going to help and open doors and give you opportunities that maybe other drivers wouldn't have. But as Mick has also proven, that's not a guaranteed, right? Enzo needs to keep up these levels, and again, considering he didn't score points for the first 5 races of the season, for him to be sitting P6 and so close to the top 3 is very impressive. Dennis Helga, the 2021 F3 champion, has had a really mixed bag in Formula 2 this year. A couple of wins to his name, but a couple of shunts as well. I mean, Baku's sprint race where he just went straight into the wall immediately comes to mind. 2 wins to his name, 2 P3 podiums as well. He's moving from Prema to MP Motorsport for next year, and MP is the team that Felipe Drogovic just won the title in. But it seems like Prema have moved Dennis Helga to one side to accommodate a Formula 3 driver that we'll be talking about later. A straight shoot between Dennis, Enzo and Liam seems the most likely to be challenging Tsunoda potentially at AlphaTauri, but we'll see. Robert Schwartzman. Just like Lawson at Red Bull, Ferrari have been giving Robert Schwartzman plenty of F1 mileage recently. The Russian driver, racing under an Israeli licence, he was born in Israel, is clearly held in high regard in Maranello, and when you look at his career, there's no shock to that. He won Formula 3, finished 4th and then 2nd in Formula 2. A move to Alfa Romeo, if Joe under-delivers next year, is the most clear and obvious one. He should be in the shop window. The only problem is that Schwartzman wasn't racing this year. He was consistently about in the Ferrari paddock, but he wasn't really doing any competitive racing of note, which maybe is a bit of an issue. The final 3 drivers in this list are all graduates from Formula 3 who are either confirmed or very, very, very likely to be moving to Formula 2 next year. They all look very, very promising, and one of them is actually doing F2 this weekend in Abu Dhabi. If any of these 3 lads have a standout Piastri-esque or Charles Leclerc-esque season in Formula 2, they are 100% going to put themselves in the shop window for a 2024 F1 seat. And I do want to shout out Isaac Hadjar, the Frenchman, and Roman Stanek, the Czech driver, who both had really strong Formula 3 seasons and potentially could be getting F2 seats themselves and stand themselves in good stead, I think, going forward. Victor Martin. First, we have to talk about the title winner, don't we? Victor Martin, 5th place last year in Formula 3, won it this year by 5 points in the end. Solid consistency throughout the season. Only 2 race wins to his name, but 4 P2s really kind of demonstrate his ability to be up there in the fight race after race after race. In fact, excluding his 3 retirements, he only finished outside of the top 10 once all year. The one thing that could stand against him is his age. He's 21. He's not an old man by any stretch of the imagination, don't get me wrong, but as a Formula 3 graduate and compared to the other 2 drivers we're going to talk about after this, you could argue maybe that's going to stand against him. He is part of the Alpine Academy as well, so if he has a really strong 2023, you've got to think that connection will stand him in good stead. But again, I hate to come back to age, but Jack Doohan, who's already there, already fighting in F2, already had FP1 runouts with Alpine, is only 19. He's 2 years younger than Victor. It won't be easy for Martin, but certainly not out of the question. Zane Maloney. Hailing from the beautiful island of Barbados, Zane Maloney has made a real impression this year, right? When you go to the mid-season point after the Austria sprint race, he only had 16 points to his name. When you compare Victor Martin, who was leading at the time, was on 80 points, and P10, Alexander Smolyar, was on 30. So Zane was out of it. But from the feature race in Austria onwards for that second half of the season, well, he scored a P5, a P4, a P2 and 3 feature race wins. They're the ones with the big points. When a driver's jumping in their debut season, you can forgive a slow start. It's a new piece of machinery to get hold of. When they have a strong end to the year and finish the season with such flair, that's always a good sign. He's not confirmed for F2 next year, but he is the driver filling in for Callum Williams in the Trident at Abu Dhabi. So keep an eye on him this weekend, see how he does. Because surely it is just a matter of time before Zane is announced as a Formula 2 driver. Ollie Berman. And finally, Ollie Berman. What an exciting prospect this young fella is. With the Ferrari Academy affiliation, he's confirmed in F2 next year with Prema, again, possibly replacing Helga. Ollie only turned 17 back in May. In 2021, he was ADAC F4 and Italian F4 champion, and only 7 points off of winning Formula 3 this year around a lot of drivers who clearly have more experience and more age on their side compared to him. Berman only managed 1 win all season, but he totaled 8 podiums, which is 2 more than championship winning Victor and 4 more than Zane Maloney. If this kid can build on the potential he's showing, then my God, we're in for something special. Plus, he's from Chelmsford, which is where I live. So combined with the fact that he's British, the God save our gracious bias is strong with this one. Who did I miss out? Maybe a late back post header from Daniel Kvyat at top corner. He returns to the sport. Maybe Mika Hakkinen finally decides to return from his sabbatical. Let me know in the comments below. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.